Welcome to Salient Training's VMS Basics videos. Today we're going to look at IP addresses and define what they are. We'll point out the difference between public and private addresses, discuss the different IP classes, and show you where they're used in CompleteView. So let's get started. An IP, or Internet Protocol address, is a unique string of numbers that identifies each computer or device on a network. IP addresses represent where you live on the network and are needed to send information between computers or devices. Let's look at an IP address and break it down. Here we have an IPv4 address that is 32 bits in length, which means it contains 32 binary digits. The IP has 4 sections, which are called octets. The IP numbers can be anywhere between 0 and 255. The address itself is separated into 2 parts, the network and the host. The division is determined by the subnet mask, which is always paired with the IP address. Whenever you see 255, that's the network part of the mask, and zeros indicate the host. Think of an IP address being similar to your street address. Your house is on the same street as your neighbors, but it's the house number that makes your address unique. You can have multiple streets with the same house numbers, and it's the same with your computer network. Instead of street addresses, you have network numbers, and instead of house numbers, you have host numbers. With the basics out of the way, let's look at the difference between public and private IPs. Now, public IP addresses are assigned to devices directly connected to the Internet and are supplied by your Internet service provider or come from a pool of addresses owned by your company. These addresses are unique and can only be assigned to one device in the world at any given time. They can be accessed from anywhere on the Internet. Private IP addresses, on the other hand, are assigned to devices but are not routable, meaning they have no direct access to the Internet. Private IPs are not unique, and the same IP can be used on different networks. These addresses are used by businesses or home networks to prevent outsiders from accessing that network, but they allow communication between all the devices on the private network. Internet access is available through a gateway. When you're using or configuring cameras and recording servers on a network, you'll be using a range of private IP addresses in one of 3 classes. The 3 main classes are Class A, Class B, and Class C addresses. Each class has a public and private range of IP addresses that control the number of devices that can be used on that network. In the security world, your cameras and recording servers will all be using the private IP networks for communication. Now, in CompleteView, there are several places where you'll enter in IP addresses. First, when you launch the desktop client to log into your deployment, you'll enter the IP address of your management server along with the port number on the login screen. Another place where you use IP addresses is whenever you add cameras to the system. Every network camera has an IP entry in the device column. Another place where you use IPs is if you're adding a new recording server to your deployment. When you're on the Add Server screen, you'll enter in the IP address of your recording server in the host box. Remember earlier we talked about host numbers? So you'll enter that network address and the host number, your username and password, and then connect to that recording server. So those are the 3 main areas that you'll see IP addresses used in CompleteView, but you might find a few more places where they'll come in handy. And that does it for our segment on IP addresses. If you found this video helpful, follow us for more user training videos. And if you have comments on our videos, send an email to training@salientsys.com. Thanks for watching.